streaming live across the country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, September 22nd, the first official day of fall. So goodbye, summer. So excited for this brand new season. Glad to have you with us. I'm Suzanne Brunner. If you're watching Newsfeed Now, we are bringing you some of the most talked about stories online all in one spot. Now, this video has gone viral. Life-saving efforts in Arkansas. Look at this. Dash cam video shows a police officer save a 2-year-old child's life after choking on a piece of candy. The Little Rock police officer was on patrol when he saw the car in front of him just stop right in the middle of the road. Mitch McCoy walks us through what happened in those moments.
It's Sunday night around 8. Officer James Phillips is on Rebsman Park Road in Little Rock when life comes to a screeching halt.
I'm just glad I was there.
Officer Phillips in the right place at the right time when he realizes a 2-year-old boy in the SUV in front of his patrol car is choking.
As I get right here, I could see the mother holding the child.
He says the boy was not moving. The 2-year-old is choking on a piece of candy.
The mother unlocked the door and she just kind of threw the child in my arms.
Officer Phillips, a dad himself, says it was not only his training, but fatherly instincts that kicked in.
I gave a couple steps in the back and realized that wasn't working. So then I went to the Heimlich and a couple presses with the Heimlich, piece of candy fell out.
Officer Phillips says once the boy started breathing again,
Life just kind of came back to him.
A life-saving moment this officer and family will soon never forget.
To the officer. Officer Phillips says this is the first time he's had to do the Heimlich ever, and so he's thankful for the training that he received. Tropical storm Beta made landfall in Texas last night. The governor of Texas issued a disaster declaration for 29 counties ahead of the storm. Louisiana's governor declared a state of emergency. 11 million people are under flash flood watches. Flooding was already reported in some areas. Even waves were so strong in Galveston, they took down part of a pier. There it goes. Moving on to Capitol Hill, the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg will lie in repose at the Supreme Court tomorrow and Thursday. There will be a private ceremony Wednesday morning. After that, the casket will be placed at the top of the Supreme Court steps for public viewing. She will lie in state Friday in National Statuary Hall at the Capitol. She will be the first woman to have that honor. She'll be buried in a private service next week at Arlington National Cemetery next to her late husband, Martin. We will know by the end of the week who President Trump will nominate for U.S. Supreme Court Justice. He plans to announce his choice Saturday. He actually tweeted that out this morning. He is looking to fill the vacancy with another woman. Frontrunners include 2 conservative Trump appointees, Judge Amy Coney Barrett and Judge Barbara Lagoa. Democrats have vowed to fight the nomination process. They say it should not be held in an election year, which was what Republicans said when Justice Antonin Scalia died during President Obama's last year in office. In just a couple of weeks, the Supreme Court's new session will begin, and the Senate is racing to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, again, passed away Friday. But just this morning, Senator Mitt Romney has potentially cleared the path for a vote on President Trump's nominee. Our Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon reports on how that could impact the Affordable Care Act, abortion laws, and possibly the presidential election.
Republican leader Mitch McConnell is promising the Senate will vote on President Trump's choice to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, possibly before Election Day.
The Senate has more than sufficient time.
California Congresswoman Judy Chu says that would put a new conservative justice on the bench in time to consider whether to strike down the Affordable Care Act.
And if so, that will mean millions of Americans will be left without health care.
Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton says it's too early to know.
It's not clear to me yet whether we will have a new justice confirmed, so I can't speculate on how the court's going to rule.
But Nevada Congresswoman Dina Titus says Republicans have shown they'll do whatever they can to eliminate the ACA.
They know that calendar, and I'm sure they will rush to have a justice to make a ruling on that case.
It's also possible a more conservative Supreme Court could hear a new challenge to abortion laws. And Congresswoman Chu says it's not just rules about when and how.
There are also other cases that outright ban abortion totally. that are also actually in the pipeline.
Democrats say the Supreme Court could also play a role in the upcoming presidential election.
With so many justices who are conservative and appointed by Donald Trump, it's very likely he's going to be the one contesting the results in the election. So who knows what they might do.
Both campaigns are hiring lawyers to prepare for challenges of the election results. In Washington, Alexandra Limon.
And we have an update on the West Coast. FEMA is actually giving federal assistance to communities hit hardest by the wildfires from California all the way up to Washington. But people living there say the process to get help is actually worse than fighting the fire. Some people in Oregon, they're just frustrated with a lack of answers from agencies like FEMA. They've been trying to navigate the FEMA process, but said it's been a, quote, bureaucratic nightmare, with applications repeatedly being denied. Before we go, someone picked up a World War II veteran's old water canteen near the Mississippi River in St. Louis, Missouri. As Emily Atkins reports, the man who found it used social media to help get it back to its rightful owners miles away in Oklahoma.
Andy Hinton was walking along the Mississippi River doing something he normally does, searching for arrowheads. But this time he found what he thought was a can. He picked it up and wiped it off and saw that somebody had carved Pearl Harbor into it. He says that's when he knew that it belonged to somebody special.
He called me on my phone one day. He says, "I got a story for you."
Ray Shones picked up the line, unaware of the story unfolding on the other end.
And towards the end of the day, we didn't really come up with much, and that's when I came across the canteen laying in the sand.
Hinton got the canteen cleaned up and started reading.
I instantly knew when I had it in my hands that once I saw someone's first and last name on it, I said, I gotta find the family to who this belongs to.
It's a wartime journal of sorts. The author, Rayful Shones, carved his name in the bottom.
I don't know why I was chosen to find it, but I feel like I was put there for a reason.
Hinton tracked down the Shones family on Facebook. He found them 600 miles away in Canute, Oklahoma.
We knew nothing about it. Never heard a story about it. When he got done talking to me, I had to raise my shirt up and wipe tears from my eyes.
Rachel Dunlap drove 18 hours round trip to bring her grandfather's canteen back home.
You know, they say you get visits from heaven. This is one of those. Grandpa, you know, he's reaching out to us again.
Andy found a needle in the haystack, didn't he?
Shones was drafted in his 20s.
When he first got in the Army, he was an expert marksman. And then he ended up being a truck driver with these prisoners because he came from the farm and he knew how to run equipment.
He served 4 years traveling the world, documenting his stops, engraving the journey in aluminum.
And you know he's thinking about home, writing all that on the putting his love life, hearts.
Look closely. Between the geography, you'll find the first chapter of the Shones love story, his future wife.
He knew my mom when he left, and I don't know how close they was, you know, before they left, but must have been pretty close to each other, you know.
Rayful and Ray Jean married after his honorable discharge. They raised 5 kids.
Everything that's warm and good in life, that was Grandpa, and you can see it in that canteen.
The canteen is not the only record of those years apart. There are love letters as well.
This one's sweet.
Ray Jean saved all of hers.
The boys went out hunting Sunday.
The full story of the canteen is still a mystery. No one knows how it ended up in Missouri.
Grandpa, where did you drop it at? I mean, what happened to it? You know, how sad were you when you did realize it was missing?
What matters most is that this precious memento made it home.
Golly, just think about the little canteen out there in this big world we live in.
A U.S. Army issued reminder that even though the soldier is silent, the legacy of his love lives on. In Canute, Emily Atkins, Oklahoma's News 4.
What a special story. We have Emily joining us now from Oklahoma City to talk more about this. What a find. You know, we talk about social media. You know, it's good and it's bad, but in this case, it is amazing and it did wonders. It's amazing how people gravitate to it, seeing if they can find someone, and they found the family. How long did it take?
So Andy, the man who found it, said it really didn't take all that long. I know first he Googled Rafal's name, the name that was on that canteen. He said his obituary popped up because he passed away in 2015. So from there, he kind of found, his kids' names and started typing the kids' names in on Facebook. And that's how he originally found Ray, Rafal's son, and was able to track him down. But it was just a matter of days. So it really didn't take Andy that long at all.
What's so interesting is when you look at that canteen, there are so many engravements and every single detail tells a story. Did you expect this kind of story to share with people and what you found on this canteen?
Absolutely not. And I don't think Andy, the person who found it, did either. I mean, he originally wiped it off, and as you heard, it said Pearl Harbor, and he kind of thought, well, that's neat. I mean, that's a World War II sort of era canteen. And then he started looking even more, found names, found Rafal's future wife's name, which we then found out he didn't even really know her all that well while he was sitting there carving that name in. And then he carved all the places that he traveled to. I mean, like you were saying, just an amazing amount of history. And the other thing that I loved about it, too, is all of his kids said, we'd never even heard of this before. We never knew this existed. So he was thinking about home and all of those things that he cared about while he was sitting there carving all of that stuff. So really, a lot of history.
That's really special. So when they first got that initial call from Andy, what were they thinking? Were they saying, was he really missing a canteen? What's going on here?
Yeah, and he originally called Ray, so Rafal's, I believe, youngest son, and he said he just started immediately crying. I mean, Andy was just telling him what he found. He said he had to wipe his eyes with his shirt. I mean, he was obviously very emotional. And then all the questions came next about, where did he lose it? Did he know he lost it? How did he lose it? Did he think that much of it when he did lose it? Was he super sad? So they're almost wishing now more than ever that he was alive so he could answer those questions, but still a wonderful memento for them to hold on to now that he's no longer here.
I love that. And I know there was a quote in here we heard from, I think it was one of his grandchildren who said it was just, him visiting from heaven, or just a nice little reminder that he's still around. Thanks so much for bringing us that story, Emily. That was really, really special for not only the family, but also for Andy as well.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Newsfeed Now. We're going to see you back here tomorrow, same time. Enjoy the rest of your day.